Have you ever wondered how quickly a moment of joy can turn into tragedy? For Victor Mwangi, one night in Roysambu became a nightmare that no one could explain, and a family's world would never be the same. It was the morning of Sunday, September 7th, 2025. Roysambu, a lively, bustling neighborhood in Nairobi, was unusually still, but behind that calm, something tragic had already unfolded. A young man full of life and potential was gone. His name was Victor Mwangi Gachanja. The circumstances of his death would send shockwaves far beyond the four walls of an apartment on Lumumba Drive. Victor didn't just die, he fell or was forced from the fourth floor of this building in the middle of what should have been a harmless weekend gathering. Was it an accident, or was it something far darker? That's the question that has haunted his family, his friends, and an entire community ever since. Before we get into the details of this tragic crime, it's important to first understand who Victor Mwangi Gachanja truly was. Because Victor wasn't just but a name. He was a son, a brother, a cousin, and a friend loved by many. He was born on July 1st, 1997, in Kiamurate Village, Gikondi Ward, Mukurweini Sub-County, Nyeri County. Victor was the cherished son of Bernard Gachanja Mwangi and Rosemary Wairimu Gachanja. He enjoyed a warm, loving, and joyful childhood. From an early age, Victor's passion for football shone through. He often played with his peers and proudly supported Manchester United. Beyond sports, he was known as a respectful and obedient young man who always lent a hand with family chores. Victor began his education at St. Thomas Catholic Academy in Othaya in 2001 and later sat for his KCPE exams in 2010, where he excelled. In 2011, he joined Othaya Boys Secondary School, successfully completing his KCSE in 2014. His love for learning led him to Immobilis Technology Training Institute, where he earned a certificate in mobile software development before pursuing a Bachelor of Science degree in Events and Convention Management at the Technical University of Kenya. Victor's career was marked by dedication and versatility. He worked with several organizations, including Trust Wave Security, 2NK Sako Nakuru, and CCI Global, before joining We Are Oasis, where he remained until his untimely passing. Spiritually, Victor was deeply rooted in his Catholic faith. He was baptized on December 30th, 2000, and later received his first Holy Communion. He grew to be a devoted member of the church, living his faith with sincerity and commitment. To his parents, Victor was far more than a son. He was their pride, their hope, and their legacy. Victor's story is one of promise, faith, and resilience. A young man who had worked hard, built a career, and remained deeply rooted in his family and faith. But all that potential, all those dreams, were about to be cut short in the most brutal way. Because on the night of Saturday, September 6, 2025, everything changed. Saturday night, September 6, 2025. The fourth floor of an apartment block on Lumumba Drive in Roysambu was alive with music and laughter. Young men and women filled the small rooms, dancing, drinking, and talking. Among them was the 28-year-old Victor Mwangi Gachanja. No one there could have imagined that before sunrise, he would be dead. As midnight passed, something changed. The party's noise turned into angry voices. Suddenly, Victor was accused of assaulting a young woman. Some said she was someone's sister. What really happened that moment remains unclear, but the effect was immediate. The mood immediately changed from excitement to rage. After he was taken out, I think some nonsense happened upstairs. There was a fracas, and it looked like the man was being forced down the stairs. He had been beaten while being accused of hitting someone's sister, one neighbor recounted. It's alleged that Victor was surrounded. Hands grabbed him. Fists flew. Some witnesses say he was dragged down the stairwell. Others whisper he may have been pushed from above. I just heard them saying he was okay. Then the gate banged, and I heard wiping sounds at the gate, and I wondered what exactly was being wiped there. Another resident said, in the chaos, one thing was certain. Victor was no longer in control of his fate. By around 3 a.m., the apartment fell into a strange silence. Victor now lay motionless on the ground floor. Some voices insisted, almost coldly, he's okay. But neighbors peeking from their doors noticed something odd. Shadows moving quickly, people wiping down the apartment gate, as though trying to erase a crime before dawn exposed it. Minutes later, around 3:30 a.m., an Uber pulled up. 3 men carried Victor into the car. One of them had blood-stained clothes. Their faces told a story of unease. Were they rescuers, or were they trying to cover their tracks? CCTV cameras at Jesse K Hospital caught the final desperate attempt to save him. When Victor was declared dead at 4:27 a.m., the hospital staff at Jesse K Hospital immediately sensed something was wrong. The men who had brought him in looked uneasy and highly suspicious. One of the men had blood-stained clothes, and even more baffling, their story didn't add up. The hospital manager quickly called the police. That single phone call set the investigations into motion. By morning, detectives from Kasarani police station had arrived at the hospital, then moved swiftly to the apartment block on Lumumba Drive. What they found raised more questions than answers. The gate to the building looked unusually clean, too clean. This finding collaborated with the witnesses' statement that some people had been seen wiping it down. Were the suspects trying to erase vital forensic evidence? CCTV footage recovered by the detectives became the next critical step. Cameras inside and outside the apartment captured details of the night. Detectives immediately traced the Uber driver. Though not part of the party, he became a key witness. His testimony helped to confirm the time Victor was picked up and the state he was in when placed in the car. Meanwhile, forensic experts took over. At the Nairobi funeral home, a post-mortem was carried out. The results revealed more than just a fall from the 4th floor. Victor had multiple fractured ribs, blunt force trauma to the chest, damage to his face and legs. This was not a simple fall. It was assault, possibly mob assault. The narrative of maybe he fell quickly crumbled. Police then moved in on suspects. 6 people, believed to be directly linked to the violence, were arrested. Some were accused of beating Victor. Others were suspected of trying to cover it up. Their statements conflicted with one another, and detectives noted how quickly the group tried to shift blame. Eyewitnesses from the apartment complex were interviewed, but some neighbors hesitated. Some only spoke anonymously as they feared retaliation from the people responsible.
After the group, I think we posed on letter. After a few minutes, I think the fracas happened huko juu. So jamani kama alikuwa mtulia kwa stairs, maybe apelekwa atoke. alikuwa amepigwa pigo na mbwa, mbona unapiga sister yangu, mbona unapiga sister yangu, kitu kama hiyo. So watu mtu anafaa kutafuta ni mwenye kuna sister ama kuna mtu anataka na sister. Yes.
The so-called Good Samaritan and his companions, those who took Victor to hospital, also came under sharp scrutiny. Were they rescuers, or were they just trying to dump him at the hospital once they realized how serious his condition was? Their nervous behavior, caught on CCTV, kept them at the center of police questioning. As the investigation grew, Victor's family refused to stay silent. His father, Bernard, and his uncle, Stephen, gave emotional interviews to the press. Their words turned private grief into public pressure. Suddenly, this wasn't just a neighborhood tragedy, it was a national case. And with that spotlight, investigators were pushed to move faster and dig deeper. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, joined the Kasarani police and brought in more resources. With forensic findings in hand, with CCTV footage secured, and with suspects in custody, the picture became clearer. Victor's death was no accident. It was the result of a violent assault, fueled by mob anger and possibly worsened by an attempt to cover up the truth. But even as the case grew stronger, one question lingered. Who delivered the fatal blow? And would all those responsible truly face justice? Or would Victor's story become another cold case in Nairobi's long list of unanswered crimes? From the publicly available information, here's what we were able to piece together. Eyewitnesses described commotion inside the building, and some recall hearing wiping sounds at the gate, a detail that suggests something unusual was happening. While memory can be flawed, the fact that multiple people mention the same action makes it difficult to ignore. At the hospital, the picture becomes clearer. Victor arrived unconscious and was declared dead within minutes. Staff noted that the men who brought him seemed uneasy, and one had blood on his clothes. This doesn't prove guilt, but it raises questions. Were they distressed by what they had seen, or were they struggling to explain their role in events? Police observations appear to echo the neighbors' accounts. By the time they reached the scene, the gate looked suspiciously clean, an odd sight given the timing. Conflicting witness statements added to the uncertainty. Was Victor dragged, pushed, or did he fall? The contradictions make it difficult to establish a single, reliable version of events. Forensics, however, provide the strongest clue. Victor's injuries, multiple fractures, and blunt force trauma are more consistent with repeated impact than with a simple fall. This points toward a violent encounter, though it doesn't answer the crucial questions of how the confrontation began or who delivered the fatal blows. Taken together, these elements suggest that Victor may have been involved in a confrontation that escalated violently. What happened afterward? The delay in medical aid, the apparent cleaning, and the conflicting stories points to confusion and perhaps an effort by some to obscure the full truth. Yet, the central mystery remains unresolved, the exact sequence of events in his final moments. On September 17th, 2025, 10 days after that tragic night in Roysambu, Victor Mwangi Gachanja was laid to rest. His body was taken to his rural home in Nyeri County, where family, friends, and neighbors gathered to bid him farewell. The atmosphere was heavy. Grief hung in the air, mixed with disbelief that a young life so full of promise had been cut short so violently. Mourners described Victor as warm, respectful, and full of energy. To his church friends, he was the young man who always offered a helping hand and carried a smile that lifted others. To his colleagues, he was hardworking and dependable. To his family, he was more than just a son. He was the heartbeat of their home, a source of hope for the future. His father, Bernard, spoke of the deep emptiness left behind, reminding everyone that this was not just a statistic in the news, but the loss of his only son. As the casket was lowered into the red Nyeri soil, cries and prayers filled the air. Some wept openly, others stood in silence, but all carried the same question in their hearts. Why did it have to end this way? Victor's funeral was not just a goodbye. It was a call for justice, a reminder to the community that what happened in Roysambu could never be allowed to happen again. Victor Mwangi Gachanja's story is not just about how he died, but about the questions his death has forced us to ask. How could a night of laughter turn into violence? Why did no one step in to stop it? And will justice ever truly be served? For his family, the pain is permanent. For his friends and community, the fear and anger linger. And for the rest of us, his story stands as a chilling reminder. In a moment, lives can be destroyed, not just by the violence itself, but by silence, by cover-ups, by a system too often slow to deliver truth. As investigations continue, one thing is certain: Victor deserves more than just memories. He deserves answers. He deserves justice. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. This case leaves us with many questions, and your thoughts matter. What do you think really happened to Victor Mwangi that night? Share your opinions and theories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more true crime stories, and share it with others so we can keep this conversation alive. Together, maybe we can get closer to the truth.